Well, friends, our liberal mayors have a really big problem that nobody wants to talk about, and they certainly don't want to accept any responsibility for.
We went 34 days without a shooting, and then Saturday morning we had another one. That's about 25 to 30 rounds.
Austin police confirmed they are investigating multiple shots fired calls on Tuffet Lane from the end of April, as well as the one from June 3rd. In the previous cases, the suspects stayed in the car. Ayers says he believes they are targeting a certain house, but no one is living in the one riddled with bullet holes. He says a group appeared to take video of the house before the latest shooting. Neighbors previously pushed for more police patrols. APD says they do patrol areas of the city proactively.
We're still not feeling safe in this neighborhood at all. We got people here moving out of the neighborhood because of this situation. I'm not far behind.
Now, this was a couple of days ago. Just yesterday or the day before, I believe, another report came out where they actually made some arrests. Now, come to find out, the reason why these people were shooting at this particular house is because a juvenile under the age of 18 is involved in these shootings and lied on Facebook of where his address was. He put his address as across the street. So these gangbangers were actually looking for a particular juvenile, but were shooting towards the opposite side of the street, to the wrong house.
APD says these cases stem from one house on Tuffet Lane. A juvenile suspect who lives there was allegedly involved in a shooting on Howard Lane. But police say the suspect actually lied about where they lived. They said they lived here, which is across the street from their home. Take a look at these bullet holes that came from those drive-bys. So the people they were fighting with ended up targeting this house, which got an innocent neighbor caught in the crossfire. APD says the suspects have ties to a gang called Youngins Gonna Murder, or YGM.
I want to repeat that these are juveniles. I don't want to get into the weeds of where are the parents, but where are the parents? There's a lot going on right here. We want to sit here and talk about how it's nobody's fault except guns. We want to blame guns. We want to talk about how guns are the root cause of the problem, which we all know that's a lie, and so do they. The left-leaning wackos know that's an absolute lie. But look, a huge majority of the voting public are stupid people. I say that all the time, and I don't mean that as a joke. A very large portion, and we're talking about both sides of the aisle, but a very large portion of the voting public is extremely stupid. They're lazy. They don't want to do any kind of real research of their own. They don't want to distrust the people who are spoon-feeding them all of their data. Don't think the people who are spoon-feeding all these lies to them don't know that they're spoon-feeding them to stupid people. One of the biggest problems we have regarding this is just like this story here in Austin, Texas. You have liberal mayors. Liberal mayors know that they have to get reelected. I've said this time and time again. Politicians only care about getting reelected. If these liberal mayors actually aggressively pursue these gangbangers and drive-by shooters, they're going to upset a certain group of people who vote for them, who help put them in office. I know a lot of people say, oh, those aren't the kind of people that vote. I didn't say that the juvenile pulling the trigger was the one who would be upset and not cast a vote for that liberal mayor. But they got moms, they got aunties, they got brother-in-laws, they got family members spread out all over these neighborhoods who do vote. And many of these people do vote. So when you put poor little Gary, poor little Rodney, poor little Estevez, I'm trying to use all the different races here so nobody accuses me of being racist. Did I say Chip? Or did I use a white enough name to include white people? If you upset these people, then their family members are no longer going to vote. You put poor little Gary in jail. Oh, Gary's in jail. Will the city do something about it? No, the mayor's tough on crime. Well, I'm not voting for that mayor next time. He put my poor little Gary in prison. He put him in jail. He put him behind bars. He's just a baby. They can't arrest these people and put them in jail or even hold them in jail. When they do arrest them, they let them out immediately, because they will upset their voter base and they will not get reelected. Now, it's not to say that these people are going to go vote for the opposition. They'll just sit it out and not vote for anybody, because God forbid they're not going to vote for a Republican. If you look at any map anywhere and look at where the high crime rates are, you will find time and time and time again that it is liberal Democrat mayors who are leading the pack with violence, murders, any kind of high crime rates whatsoever are being led predominantly, and it's not even close, in these Democrat-run cities. The highest crime rates, the highest murder rates. That's why these people are soft on crime, because they got where they are with this huge voting base voting for them and putting them in office, and they're going to be a one-termer if they try to get tough on crime. They're never going to make it. They're never going to last. They're looking to get reelected and promoted. Once they get into that real little weird Democrat cult, they want to continue to move up. Next, they want to be governor. Next, they want to do something else. You know, you get these lies out there, and they're lies, they're provable lies, that we say a lot of these leftists that want to talk about crime, the ones that are against any kind of real policing of crime, they try to say, we have a red state problem. Well, if you look at the crime rates, most of the crime rates, the worst ones, the highest ones, are in red states. Look, crime tends to be a very specific local issue. You can't look at a state and say the entire state has this particular crime rate. You can, and in some cases it might be fair. Obviously, if you have a Democrat-run state and all the big cities are Democrat mayors, well, clearly that's going to apply. Like California, for instance, that's definitely going to apply there. But when you look at red states out there, say like a Mississippi or an Alabama, and you go, oh, look at their high crime rates. Louisiana, for instance, it's right where I'm at. If you look at the crime rates, and you actually, let's take murder, for instance, if you take out the murder rates of those Democrat-run cities, suddenly these red states have great crime rates. They're not so bad. But whenever you put these Democrat-run cities back into the count, which you should, out of fairness for the state, then it shows a terribly different number that makes the red state governor looks like they're doing a bad thing. But even though I don't like our governor in Louisiana because he is a bleeding heart liberal Democrat, he's not responsible for the crime rate in Baton Rouge or New Orleans. Those two cities are dumps, and they're run by idiot Democrat mayors, and those mayors are the ones who are responsible for the high crime rates in those particular areas. Again, I'm not taking up for this Democrat governor that we have in Louisiana, but he can't be held directly responsible for those particular crime rates. And one last thing I want to point out, the ATF doesn't seem all that concerned with these full auto Glocks that we see in so many of these videos. They come out time and time again. The ATF's not cracking down on that. We talked about a honeypot that we think the ATF is responsible for just a couple of weeks ago in one of my videos. But the ATF is proliferating a lot of these out there, it would appear. And in many cases, the proof of it is that they don't go after them. So ATF, are you scared to go after these people with the full auto Glock switches? Or are you allowing it because it's part of your master plan? Instead of going after people with force reset triggers and suppressors and now stabilizing braces and FFLs who aren't crossing T's and dotting I's properly, you sure seem to be letting a lot of things that are right out in the open fly under the radar. This is proof, guys, that the Department of Justice at the federal level has been weaponized. This is proof that they do not want to go after a voting base that they have out there. Joe Biden or whoever his handlers are that are truly pushing all the buttons have instructed the DOJ that this is the voting base we want you to go after, and this is the one that we want you to leave alone. In fact, one of the most dangerous things that they could possibly have done was people from Joe Biden down talking about how truly the biggest problem in America is, quote, white supremacy.
The most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
That is one of the most careless, reckless statements I've ever heard. So China isn't a big threat? Isn't as big as white supremacy? Really? Fentanyl isn't as big a threat as white supremacy? Are you kidding me? Child trafficking isn't as big a problem as white supremacy? Are you kidding me right now? Gang violence that we talk about, that's responsible for thousands of deaths across the country. Every single month, every single week, every single day, somebody's being killed in gang violence. That's not as big a threat as white supremacy. Although you do try to put those people, I'm assuming all the people in Chicago who are getting killed are being killed by white supremacists. Surely it has to be, right? Well, that would make more sense now. Maybe we just got a bigger bucket to throw more of the white supremacists in. As long as we continue to send the wrong message out there as to what the true problem is, this can never be fixed.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's so horrible.